the charge or the hook quality is very subtle, and then the charge gets stronger and stronger and stronger, and until you're blind and you're able to actually harm another human being or start a hate campaign or...
Yeah, I see. You can be upset. I understand.
So it's a chain reaction, and you can actually, if you come to your senses anywhere in the chain reaction, you can interrupt it. But it gets harder and harder because you become more on automatic pilot, and it's like an undertow. It's like it's very seductive.
Was it Shada Devi who said, we who like senseless children...
Yeah. Shrink from suffering but love its causes.
Yeah, shrink from suffering but love its causes. How do you interpret that?
Well, just recently I was with a group of people, and I quoted that, and I asked them, without any teaching at all, to tell me what they thought it meant. And there was just lineups at the microphone, because people, you know, they talked about everything from being alcoholic, you know, shrink from suffering, don't like the suffering, but to mask the suffering, I drink again, and then I have more suffering. What Shantideva was really getting at is, generally speaking, nobody wants to suffer. But our means of going about getting happy are not in sync with our desire to not suffer. That's a basic Buddhist teaching, is that sentient beings, none of them want to suffer, but their way of going about getting happy escalates the suffering. So yelling when you're angry would be an example. And I tell this story, like last year, I knew that if I kept working on a project I was working on, I could feel my physical health starting to deteriorate. But the adrenaline for wanting to keep writing, I was writing an article, and it was taking a long time. And the adrenaline to want to keep working was driving me beyond what was sensible in terms of long hours and so forth. And I could feel that it was making me sick. I have somewhat fragile health. And so I stopped, and I said to myself, I got up in the morning, and I had said to myself before, I'm not going to start on this project till 1:30 in the afternoon. I'm going to spend the morning meditating, walking, calming kind of things. But I got up in the morning, and I found myself at the desk with the pen, first thing, you know. So I sat there, and I said, why are you doing this? And so I'm having a dialogue with myself. I'm doing this because I equate it with satisfaction. I'll finish this paper. And that makes me feel good to think that it will be finished. So then I said to myself, and if you start writing now, will you feel better? No, I won't, because my health is starting to go. So why are you doing it? So I just sat there with this feeling like someone is going to have to come up bodily and gag me and put a mask on me and drag me out of the house for me not to just start, despite the fact that I knew it wasn't good. And then I came down to just because I want to. You know, I already knew I was doing it for the imagined satisfaction that I knew I wouldn't get. You see, so we're kind of stuck in that place.
Did my colleagues get to you to tell you how to get to me, how to do a public diagnosis of me? I mean, did they come to you and say, you can get him if you talk about work? No, I'm the same way.
Of course. Yeah. I'm fascinated by that seductive pull, that urge to keep doing, as the Buddha would say, where your desire for satisfaction and happiness are not in sync with the methods you go about using. And then you could say the consequences, you know, of war and prejudice and so forth, they all come from that moment of the urge to do the same thing you've already done.
Let's pause right there. We'll come back to this conversation in just a moment. But first, we want to give some public television stations this opportunity to ask for viewer support. Among the rolling hills and lakes of the Hudson River Valley, just 80 miles north of the clatter of New York City, sits the Omega Institute, an oasis for spiritual seekers. Pema Chodron made a rare appearance at Omega's campus recently to teach from her book, No Time to Lose, a timely guide to the way of the Bodhisattva. The teachings are based on a text written by the 8th century Buddhist sage Shantideva, and its contents, as Pema Chodron explains, are remarkably relevant to modern life.
In Tibetan, the word is dunzi. I love this word, dunzi. It means distractions, sort of distractions that just sort of, you can waste your whole life in dunzi, you know, just like the lifestyle of just sort of flipping through magazines, or, I don't know, the thing is, what we find if we're not used to sitting quietly with ourselves, not used to meditation, not used to having any inner solitude in our lives, we find that we're very threatened by nothing happening. And we are addicted to dunzi, addicted to distractions. And that's why you get on an airplane, and it's as if, I think they're just like terrified. What would happen if the video went off and there was no food, and we all had to sit there for the whole, 1.5 hour flight, and not have any entertainment. And, all the books, you forgot your book and everything. It would be kind of interesting to see if people would freak out. Because you walk up and down the aisles. You know what everyone would do? They'd close their eyes and go to sleep. They'd just try to not be there. I try to meditate on airplanes. It is not easy, actually, because there is so much, the videos are going like this, change, and there's all this electrical sound going through, and everyone is working with their little Game Boys and their little things, and there's like so much happening in that little space, Everyone's sitting in their little seats, and there's just like chaos. But it's all in the name of entertainment, distracting you from being in this dreadful experience of being in this airplane for however long. This lousy world, this lousy people, this lousy government, this lousy everything, lousy weather, lousy blah, 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 blah. Pissed off, like it's too hot in here, it's too cold, don't like the smell, and the person's too tall in front and too fat next to me, and they're wearing perfume, and I'm allergic, and just, So he says, the analogy is that you're barefooted. It's like being barefooted and walking across blazing hot sand or across cut glass or a field with thorns. And your feet are bare, and you say, oh, this is just, it's really hurting. It's terrible. It's too sharp. It's too painful. It's too hot. Do I have a great idea? I am just going to cover the whole. Everywhere I go, I'm going to cover it with leather. And then it won't hurt my feet anymore. That's like saying, I'm going to get rid of her and get rid of him and get the temperature right, and I'm going to, ban perfume in the world, and there will be nothing that bothers me anywhere. I am going to get rid of everything, including mosquitoes, that bothers me anywhere in the world, and then I will be a very happy, content person. We're laughing, but it's what we all do. That is how we do approach things. We think if we could just get rid of them or cover it with leather, then our pain would go away. Well, sure, because, then it wouldn't be cutting our feet anymore. I mean, it's just logical, isn't it? But it doesn't make any sense, really. So he said, but if you simply wrap the leather around your feet, in other words, shoes, then you could walk across the boiling sand and the cut glass and the thorns, and they wouldn't bother you. So the analogy is, if you work with your mind, instead of trying to change everything on the outside, that's how your temper will cool down.
Do you look to the Buddha with the same kind of reverence that many Christians look to Jesus, or Muslims look to Muhammad?